We all think that it's absolutely necessary to speak and understand English to find a job in America. It might be true, but not always. My husband's experience tells me that if he knew English, it would only harm him in his job search. You don't believe me? Here is what happened to him. He's a civil engineer, and when he came to America, he already had 15 years of experience in this field, so we were sure that sooner or later he'd find a job. He wrote a resume and sent it to different companies. To his satisfaction, every day he received 2 to 3 polite replies, thanking him for his interest in their firm, expressing their excitement regarding his qualifications, and letting him know, with regret, that they couldn't offer him any job due to the global economy. In a few months, our confidence needed intensive care and he was ready to take any job to make some money. Finally, fortune pitted him. Alex received a telephone call from a gentleman with an invitation for an interview. His name was Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown owned a small shop that produced road signs. He needed a draftsman and the job was simple, especially for an engineer with 15 years of experience. When Mr. Brown met Alex, he had a wide smile on his face and immediately took Alex to show his shop, which he was very proud of. Mr. Brown wanted to impress Alex, and Alex wanted to impress Mr. Brown too, so at the very beginning their conversation looked like two close relatives who had finally reunited after a long separation. But soon, their joy started to fade. The problem was that Alex came from a different country with a different approach, and therefore to make a good impression he wanted to show that he knew much more about the field than Mr. Brown. Well, this is how we were taught, regardless of how strange it may sound to Americans. His attitude was based on a very simple logic: if I tell you that you know very little about the field, it means that I know a lot. Therefore, you realize how important I am for your business, and you'll hire me. Understood? Therefore, everything that Mr. Brown showed in his shop met Alex's condescending disapproval. At the beginning, Mr. Brown took Alex to his welding shop.
"See,"
he said with pride and self-satisfaction.
"Here we perform welding. We don't do it by hand anymore. Almost everything is automated in my shop. We have several contemporary welding machines."
Alex had never seen this kind of welding machines in his life, but he couldn't give Mr. Brown an idea that he hadn't, so he replied,
"Is this how you do welding? This is unacceptable. When I start working here, I'll show you how you have to do it the correct way."
The joyful smile disappeared from Mr. Brown's face, but Alex didn't pay attention to it. They came back to Mr. Brown's office, where 2 draftsmen were standing at their drawing desks.
"Is this how you make drawing?"
Alex said superiorly.
"When I start working here, I'll show you how you have to do it."
At this point, Mr. Brown stopped smiling altogether, and his eyes expressed grey boredom, but Alex still didn't take any notice. Then Mr. Brown said weakly,
"Thank you for coming. It was very nice to meet you. Please do not call me. I'll call you myself when it would be necessary. Have a good day. Goodbye."
Alex went home and started to wait for a telephone call from Mr. Brown. One day passed and then another, but he didn't call. On the 3rd day, Alex decided to call him himself. When Mr. Brown heard Alex's voice, he was definitely irritated.
"Why do you call me? I told you not to call me. I'll call you if I need something."
Alex replied without any hesitation,
"Sure, Mr. Brown. I understand, Mr. Brown. I just thought that you might lose my telephone number."
"I did not lose your telephone number,"
said Mr. Brown.
"Please do not call me anymore."
Alex waited for another 3 days, but he didn't call. Then he decided to call him again. This time, as soon as Mr. Brown heard Alex's voice, he got really mad.
"I told you not to call me. I already told you that I didn't lose your telephone number. I know it by heart. Please, stop calling me."
But Alex didn't want to give up. He needed a job. So, he said,
"Mr. Brown, if you don't hire me, you won't know how to do welding the right way."
Before Alex said this, Mr. Brown had been trying his hardest to be polite with him, but after Alex said it, Mr. Brown lost control completely and yelled at Alex with a breaking voice.
That's it. Enough is enough. You go fuck yourself.
And hung up the phone. As you can see, Mr. Brown turned out to be not as polite as he was trying to show at first. But Alex didn't take it personally, because he didn't know English very well and had no idea what "go fuck yourself" meant. He searched the dictionary, but was not able to find either the word or the expression. Then, he called his friend, Vladimir. Vladimir had come to America 6 months before us, so we looked at him as if he was a native American who knew English. To Alex's satisfaction, he was at home.
Вова. Ты знаешь, что значит go fuck yourself?
We found out later that he didn't know, but he didn't want to admit it because he didn't want to lose our respect and admiration. He said,
Что за вопрос? Конечно, знаю. Это как Я не знаю, как лучше тебе объяснить. Это такая идиома. Ага.
Alex agreed.
Но что это значит? Я не знаю, как объяснить это тебе на русском. Это зависит от контекста.
Then Alex told him the whole story from the beginning, starting from Mr. Brown's wide smiles, and how he showed him his shop, and how Alex called him several times, and how he told him at the end to go fuck yourself.
Ах. Теперь я понимаю.
Vladimir said after Alex finished his story.
Он тебя взял на работу. Да ты что? Правда.
Alex whispered, unable to believe his luck.
Ты уверен? Что за вопрос?
Vladimir said with sarcasm.
Конечно, я уверен. Ты что, думаешь, что я не знаю английского?
There was no limit to our excitement. Finally. A real job. Alex dialed the number he already knew by heart again.
Mr. Brown, it's me again.
Alex said, trying very hard not to pant.
Do you remember, I called you yesterday, and you told me to go fuck myself, do you remember?
So? Yes. I said it.
Mr. Brown admitted.
When do you want me to start?
There was a long pause. Apparently, nobody ever asked Mr. Brown this question. He thought for a moment and then said tiredly,
You go fuck yourself right away.
And hung up the phone. The next morning, Alex put on his best and only suit, and his best and only tie, and 15 minutes before 8 he showed up at Mr. Brown's office. When he saw Alex, his face looked like he had pulled a hair from his soup. Then it turned pink, then white, and then it was covered with uneven bluish spots. Then he asked with a cracking voice,
What are you doing here?
I came to fuck myself.
Alex replied, feeling very proud of his knowledge of refined English idioms.
To do what?
Fuck myself, as you asked.
Alex repeated.
Don't worry, Mr. Brown, I know how to do it. I'll do a good job.
Gradually, awareness of the situation started to dawn on Mr. Brown. His face turned pink again. For a few minutes he was trying to catch his breath, as if he was a fish, and then he broke into hysterical thunderous laughter. He roared with laughter, like a herd of stallions, and was unable to stop for 10 minutes. Coworkers gathered at the other side of his office door, being alert with his loud laughter. His secretary came with a glass of water, but Mr. Brown sent her away. At last he caught his breath, wiped tears from his face and said,
I didn't laugh like this for at least 8 years, since the time when I won a big contract from my competitor and he died because of a heart attack. Now I owe you. I'll give you a job for 2 weeks. I'll pay you $2.25 per hour, because I can't pay you less by the law. But you'll work your ass off, otherwise these 2 weeks would be very short for you. Therefore, let's go fuck yourself.
He started to laugh hysterically again, and showed Alex with a gesture to go away. This is how Alex's first American job began. During the first 2 days he got familiarized with new American drawing instruments and rules, and during the following 3 days, he created 5 new drawings and placed them on Mr. Brown's desk. It was approximately the amount of work that both draftsmen created during 1 week. After all, he had 15 years of experience, and also, he used to do it all manually. At the end of the second week, Mr. Brown called Alex to his office, shut the door, and offered him a permanent job with $4.50 per hour, and as soon as Alex accepted his offer, he fired both draftsmen, who had worked for him for many years.
This is capitalism, Alex,
he said.
We don't fuck around here, you know. We fuck ourselves.
And he roared with laughter. Many years passed since then. Alex succeeded in his career, reaching the senior management level in New York. His name is well known among professionals of his field. But never during his career in the United States did he receive such a giant rise as Mr. Brown gave him 30 years ago. So, now you can see that sometimes it's better if you don't understand refined English idioms.